All right, and welcome to the latest episode of Behind Mask. As you can see, I am running solo today. I'm going to be your host. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah, Eugene's got some family things to take care of today. So again, going to be running solo and going to enjoy my time. So let's do this. Before we get started, do want to give a couple of shout outs. First off to our official, unofficial sponsors, Ghost Energy. It does get us through the day as we need to. In fact, I just had some earlier today. I had some phase pop while I was at work today. So yes, we do drink it. I promise. Although right now I'm being sponsored by AC Kids and Inspired Paintball, Pro Edge Paintball for my water. So, secondly, our other official, unofficial sponsor, Dr. Squatch Soap. I absolutely do love this stuff. It's got dozens and dozens of wonderful smells. They've got a bunch of different grits for your different exfoliation needs, things like that. It's just amazing stuff. I use it literally every day. My entire body, even on my head. I know I shouldn't, but both can be found at various places. Let's see, Target, Walmart, let's see, online, obviously, ghostenergy.com, drsquatch.com, as well as you can find Ghost at 7-Eleven, Albertsons, Stater Brothers, various different corner stores, things like that. So yeah, all over the place. Very nice. Moving on. Eugene's always better at that stuff than I am. At any rate, do kind of want to move into everything that we have to do tonight. So that being said, we are going to start off with a few things involving, the tournament scene. Yeah, obviously right now we're gearing up for Chicago NXL, so not a lot really going on in the tournament levels, though. NXL did release some stuff, so let's go ahead and move into our first segment. Yes, so starting with tourney talk. Again, not a lot going on right now in terms of tournaments. Everybody's prepping for Chicago, so a lot of practicing, a lot of out there grinding it up every weekend. As you saw a few weeks back, I was in Texas visiting some family, and I got a chance to go out and see the Texas Cyclones running some scrims with Austin Notorious, both their pro line as well as one of their divisional teams. So that was cool. The heat was brutal. Believe me, when I woke up this morning and I looked in the mirror, I was like, my head is peeling. So I had to I had to take my shower and really scrub all that dead skin off and stuff like that. But be that as it may. Yeah, so kind of quiet. However, the NXL did they did post recently some kind of cool, well, I wouldn't say cool, but some interesting information. Yes, that's true, Lupe, and I did. I got to hang out with you. We got to break bread, eat some beautiful, beautiful steaks. So that was awesome. And again, thank you so much for coming out. I really, really appreciate it. I know to you, a 3-hour drive is no big deal, but it's a big deal to me. So I appreciate it. But yeah. So as I said, NXL recently brought out some information regarding oh, come on. Sorry, it's running a little slow. So they did release a lot of the prizes for Chicago. It's going to be played September 15th through the 17th, so the weekend of my birthday. Happy birthday to me. I won't be there, unfortunately. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to show, a little bit of the information. Me personally, this is the first time I've ever actually seen the NXL release any of the information in terms of prize money and things like that. So um, as you can see, top 3 teams in the pro division will be going into, I believe it says that they'll earn a bye in the quarterfinal. And then the top 4 teams in semi-pro will be getting a bye, and this is all going into World Cup. First place in professional gets 40K. Semi-pro is getting 20K, so I know you guys are out there looking to get that bag. D2, as you can see, 15K, D3, 12, and so on going down. Again, I'm just kind of, it's kind of refreshing to see that the NXL is being a little bit more open with this stuff. I know it's not necessarily a big secret, but it's information that I found interesting because there's been a lot of talk of whether or not teams are being compensated for their time and stuff like that. So I did find that to be pretty cool. That being said, I know there's a lot of smaller series that are still going on. I know we've got a Bunker Fest coming up soon, as well as I think another USXBL is coming. So it'll be cool to see, how that breaks down. Lupe, maybe you can give me a little bit more information on that one, because yeah, I'm bad with a lot of the local stuff. That being said, there is one other thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about, and it's going to bleed over into our regular show. WNXL, you're lucky we'll let y'all play. So everybody's still gearing up for Chicago. Me personally, I'm a little excited for that specific thing, just because I'd love to see, Destiny pull out another win, defend their title from the last event, and get a nice seed for World Cup. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see how well the ladies play. It'll be really cool. But again, a couple of other things going on within the industry that it's going to bleed over to the main topic that I wanted to talk about today, and that was what division is right for you. What kind of brings me to that is our good friend Scotty over at Will Ball for Soup posted a video, very kind of a thought-provoking video, in that he talks with somebody who is currently ranked D3 but is talking about making the move down to D5. He feels like he's just not really gelling with his team. It's just not really going the way he had hoped. And so there we go. Finally, sorry for the lag, guys. So he talks a little bit about, just where his thoughts are right now, and, where he'd like to be in terms of, competitiveness and, getting the games in and things like that. And again, he's talking about making the jump down to D5, and, whether it's to his benefit or not. And I thought about it, I thought about back from when, Eugene and I were still playing. We would have been considered Div 2, but that was, in 7-man NPPL / XPSL. So that was a while ago. I mean, we're talking about in the early to mid 2000s. So take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, rankings now are a lot different. 7-man doesn't exist, at least not in that form. I never played 5-man. I never played PSP or X-Ball for that matter. Very few of us did on that Keebler team. A lot of us kind of went our separate ways after the team folded. But we saw a huge gap in terms of the skill level and the pacing of the game at that time. And I'm perfectly fine with somebody maybe waiting to make the jump to a higher rank if, as a team, they're not ready. staying in a lower rank, gelling together as a team, and really kind of getting to know each other on and off the field, it helps. I know a lot of the times we talk about, our teams are like our second family. And in many cases, it's absolutely true. But that doesn't change the fact that if you're not grinding with these guys day in and day out, every time you get a chance to go out and get some spins, it's not really going to make a difference whether or not you've played, 5 events at one level or you played 1 event at one level. If you can't play as a team, if you can't succeed as a team, obviously you're not going to, you're just not going to be ready to make that jump. That being said, obviously there are some players out there who are they're not suited for the division that they're in, either because the skill level doesn't match, or because vice versa, they are completely outranking everybody that they're playing in. I do know some guys who are in a higher division at that time. They were playing like Division 1, Division 2, but they just didn't feel like they were entirely on the ball, so to speak, in terms of skill level and stuff like that with a lot of the teams that they were playing. And so they elected to hold off for a season, not play anything that had ranking, and then start up again the following season in a lower division, just to, again, kind of meet their needs. But yeah, I mean, nobody loves sandbagging, although it's hard to avoid, because especially nowadays, 15 years ago, what was semi-pro is now Div 3. What was Div 3 is now Div 5. As a sport, we have completely evolved. A lot of the young, up and coming players, a lot of the guys who are out there grinding it every weekend, they are at the level that was much higher then. Now they're coming in this way. The other thing is you're getting a lot of players who are returning to the fold who maybe haven't played an organized event in, say, 10 years. So they've lost all their ranking. And yeah, you might have to shake some rust off. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Sorry about that, man. Yeah, they may have to shake some rust off and kind of get back into the flow of things. But they are still, it doesn't take long to get back to where you were. And so starting out in Div 5, and within a season or two, these guys are completely steamrolling every team they play. At that point, do you force them to jump up, or do you allow them to continue playing at the level that they're in until they're forced out? And you could go either way with that, honestly. It's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword, because even if you're not ready to make the jump to the next rank, if you're just not good, and unfortunately there are people out there who are like me, I play because I love to play. But once I reach a certain threshold in terms of, ranking points and stuff like that, if I have to bump up, I'm done for. There's no way I can hang at a higher division. So do you suffer the consequences of that because you play too many events, or do you allow people who, it's been 10 years, 15 years since the last time they stepped on a field in an organized event where ranking matters? Do you allow them to stay there and, really get their feet wet again, or do you force them out after X amount of time? I don't know. I mean, you guys tell me. Lupe, Mike, both of you guys, obviously can chime in on this. You both have enough experience on the field and as well as off the field. Mike, especially because you play a lot of the mech tournaments that have an open division. And so you're walking on the field with current NXL pros. And, obviously, again, we're out there to play because we love the sport. We're not out there, to feed our egos, at least not all of us. So, again, it's a really touchy subject. And some people feel like, if you deserve to be there, then you should be there. Yeah, see, exactly. Mike's put it perfect. He was Div 1 in 2007. He's now Div 4. But was that in 7-man, or was that in like X-Ball 5-man? But so again, we could go on and on for days talking about just just how to break it down, whether or not it's fair. Although we have seen a lot of people who intentionally will skirt the rules, they'll register. They'll register under a different name when you hit 40. Also, ranking drop points each year. That's true. So I probably, I mean, I know I'd start with 0 ranking points because it's been a while, but being over 45, they'll be like, the old guys are over there. MPPL. Okay. So yeah, much like Eugene and I. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Obviously there are people out there who are going to try and skirt the rules. They're going to try and, stack the chips in their favor. So they'll register under a different name, or they'll have X number of players registered, but then they'll have somebody show up in that player's place and say, well, yeah, that's me. I know it's a little bit harder to get by because you actually have to show an ID and things like that. But, it's not out of the question for it to happen. In fact, we just saw it a few years back. The LA Wildcards, who were a very good team back in the day. We played against them quite a few times in the MPPL. We scrimmed against them, stuff like that. And they were a very good team in 7-man. They made a recent comeback in a couple of years back, and they completely sandbagged one of their teams. They had a guy who was, I think, ranked Div 2. They had a few players actually who are ranked like 2 or Div 2 and Div 3 who were playing Div 5. Now I know you're allowed I think you're allowed 1 Div 3 player for a D5 team. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody out there. But and then obviously you can have, playing D5, you can have a D4 player on the roster. I think you're allowed 2 or 3. But be that as it may, they, tried to stack their team with a bunch of guys who were well outside the ranking. And unfortunately, well, I should say fortunately for us, they got caught. It bit them in the ass, and they were banned from being able to play, not only as a team, but those individual players were banned. Whether it's a lifetime ban, I doubt it. Obviously, that's a little harder to be able to police. But, I mean, they got banned. They got banned for that event. They got banned for a bunch of future events. And, I mean, it's another one of those dark marks on paintball that, we could go on and on for days about as well. Just like with cheating, just like with having integrity when you walk on that field and telling yourself, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to, do a bunker rub. I'm not going to intentionally slide on my chest if I got shot, that type of thing. So take it as you will, but it does create an interesting topic of conversation. So by all means, talk amongst yourselves. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, it's not quite so tournament involved. So I'm going to step out of that section real quick, and then we'll be right back to talk about the next thing. Yes, I love that. Eugene did such a great job on all of these little bumpers. They're really good. So shout out to my buddy Eugene, my partner, my non-homo life partner. Call it what you will. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about was a rumor that was recently discovered again by Scotty over at Will Ball for Soup. Let me just bring my screen up real quick here. I apologize again. It's a bit of a lag on my end. But here we go. Share my screen here. But he recently came across some information about a potential new marker hitting the scene pretty soon. I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, you just barely heard about this, but Planet Eclipse recently filed a new trademark for the next entry, at least what appears to be the next entry in the Geo line. So the Geo R5. As you can see there, the filing date was back in early June 12th of this year. be kind of curious to see what they're going to do, whether this is going to be a more like a private label geo, similar to like the SL series egos early on, where small tweaks here and there to improve efficiency, or trim some of the fat off the body, that type of thing. But you know I kind of like to see stuff like this. Again, a lot of people are saying like, oh well, you're just barely catching on to this, you're just barely seeing this. But this is not, this is not entirely public knowledge unless you know where to look. The other thing is that, again, we're not seeing a lot of new innovation when it comes to the markers. Yes, the 180R is definitely a step up from the 170. The Geo 4 was a huge step up from the Geo 3. And across the line, the shocker amp was a huge, improvement over the RX and the SLR and or whatever that one was called, SL. Anyway, so yes, we're seeing incremental, improvements on the markers, but like I've said before, we are seeing a little bit of a stagnation when it comes to the technology. Really, the only thing that you can do is, work on these, the engines, work on the cores, working on the different valves and stuff to increase efficiency and or lower the operating pressure, and maybe coming out with new boards. But even then, every tournament series is capped at 10.5. Do we really need a lot of this like super programmable stuff? Maybe, maybe not. So I'd be real curious to see how this shakes out. Be real curious to see whether or not this is going to be, again, more of a like a private label type of a geo as opposed to an entirely new marker. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But it's still cool to see. I know Jack Wood is, the guy's unbelievable when it comes to his ability to just create and shape new things in the paintball world. He's been doing it for so long that I'd be real curious to see how this is going to show. Excuse me. The other thing that I did want to bring up is we now have a competitor for paintball video games. So I know 5-2 Studios, 2-5 Inception Paintball, I think is what it's called. Anyway, the new game coming out, it's going to be called Virtua Paintball, and it looks amazing, actually. Let me, again, I'm gonna make you guys sit and wait while my stupid laggy ass computer loads it up. But it looks amazing. It's being headed up by a group that is directly affiliated with an LA Infamous player. So there are some pros involved with the developing of the game. And some people might say that it was kind of shady and a little bit underhanded that they had announced their game the same day that that 5-2 Studios, I think it's called 5-2 Studios, had announced an update to theirs. So here we go. Let me go ahead and bring this up real quick. There we go. So again, as you can see, it's going to be called Virtua Paintball. It says in-game footage, and it doesn't actually show any kind of footage or anything like that. The thing that I was really excited to see about this is that it's actually going to be coming to console. So as you can see there, it's got the Steam logo, the PlayStation, as well as the Xbox. They're looking to launch first quarter of 2024. They're currently in an alpha build right now. So definitely exciting news on that front. I know it's been talked a lot about, again, World Ball for Soup, had thrown some stuff out there. I'm sure you guys have probably come across it on Instagram. But again, the thing that I really love is that, we're already seeing some growth in that aspect. We're seeing devs that are taking a chance on paintball as a video game. A lot of us older guys out there played the Greg Hastings tournament paintball, and then Greg Hastings Maxed. Greg Hastings 3 supposedly was going to be coming out, although there's been a lot of kind of nebulous rumors going on about devs not being paid and stuff like that, although that game does technically exist in a mobile format. So if you search your app store, you definitely can find it. It's not under Greg Hastings Paintball 3, but it is out there. It doesn't look great, but it doesn't look bad. Virtua Paintball certainly looks amazing, though. As we can see in that shot right there, they're definitely going to have JT in there. You can see Eclipse on that guy's jersey. There's HK on the jersey. So we're going to see a lot of the actual live products that are out there on the field every weekend. We're going to see it here in the game as well. So I'm very, very excited to see how this is going to turn out. I'm really excited to see whether or not they're going to be able to kind of recapture that, recapture the charm that was the first 2 Greg Hastings games. So, yeah. All right, I'm going to close that one, jump back over here. But again, cool stuff on the horizon. I'd be real curious to see whether or not the Virtua game is going to be, again, they announced that the same day that the other game was announced with their update, and that was a calculated move. One of the guys behind the game itself said, well, yeah, of course we're gonna, we want to create a market for ourselves, and so we're gonna try and garner some of the attention, on the same day. That makes sense, but at the same time, some people kind of looked at it sideways and said, yeah, that's not cool. But it kind of leads me back to the whole idea of growing the sport. This is definitely going to reach a bigger audience than what's being viewed by paintball right now. Not a lot of eyes on Go Sports every event, obviously, unless there's a reason for somebody to go searching for it. And the events right now are not really being held in areas where there's a lot of foot traffic, where there's a lot of, casual people who are not already involved in the sport walking over like, oh, what's going on over here? Again, we talk a lot about, revision. We talk a lot about history. Long gone are the days of Huntington Beach, but that was, if you really wanted to get exposure to something like paintball, right on the beach, right off of the pier in California, that's the best way you can do it. In the stadium, in the parking lots of a stadium in every major metropolitan city, that was definitely a way to do it. And of course we'd love to see those days come back, but will they? Who knows? Who knows? Again, I keep hearing all this stuff about 7-man coming back. I'll believe when I see it, although I can't wait if it does. I know I'm too big and fat to get out there, but I can dream. But I would love to hear, I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are on not only the timing of announcing that video game, whether or not you think that that's going to create a negative impact on one game versus the other, or if that's, obviously I feel like that's in our benefit because it gives us more options, gives us more things to look into. That's true. I'm never too big and fat for 10-man. That's true. That is true. You know what? I actually wouldn't mind playing a 10-man event. That would be a lot of fun, but I'd have to do it I definitely would have to do it with, the guys. So it would have to be like me, Gene. I'd have to recruit, you, Lupe. I don't know, see if I can drag Mike off of Smoke. I'm sure we could scrape together 10 guys who would all be willing to go out there and make to make a move. Yeah, you know what, Mike? That's a great point. It's exactly like that. And there have been plenty of times where we've seen situations like that. It's essentially the story behind a movie is absolutely the same, and two different studios doing it. Yeah, yeah. There you go. Volcano and Dante's Peak. Exactly. Although, I mean, one movie has Tommy Lee Jones and the other one doesn't. So, you know, do what you will with that. But yeah, I agree. It's not. It should not really be looked at um, with any kind of negative connotation, because I mean that's business. And yeah, it sucks. Can it be seen as underhanded? Yeah, of course, but it happens all the time. So it's not as though this is anything new, and it's not as though we're not going to see it again. The other thing that I'd love to hear your guys' feedback on would be whether or not that would prompt a casual gamer to actually go out and play paintball sometime, or if it's gonna just continue to be kind of a niche thing. I know the Greg Hastings game, the first one, ended up going like gangbusters. That game sold so well, and it was so widely received. I mean, so well received, that I mean, it outdid everybody's expectations of it. But it could have been a flash in the pan. I mean, it was a different time. The economy was much different. But did it lead to people going out and playing? Yeah, I know of a few people personally who actually played the Greg Hastings game and then went out and started playing. Now, whether or not that's going to happen. Gamers don't get sweaty. Well, you say that. However, I see it constantly when I'm playing. If I step foot into PvP on Destiny, it's full of a bunch of guys that are, I mean, they openly call themselves sweats, in that they'll sit there and just play and play, and they'll play PvP so much that they get a rise out of, curb stomping people and, just completely rolling over people. They think it's funny. They think it's, a good time. And then they completely ruin the lobby for everybody else. They go in and then they start playing each other, and they just, it's ridiculous. So yes and no. We're also talking about go outside when it's hot. Well, that's true. That's very true. Um, right now it's a hard time, at least in the major areas of the country where paintball is being played. It's a hard time to go out and play. I mean, it's hot in California for California. It's extremely hot and humid in Texas, as I found out. And I'm sure it's probably pretty warm there in Florida as well. So, right now that makes up, the three biggest markets for paintball right now. It's warm, and so not a lot of people are going out there. Obviously, if you want to if you want to get good, as the gamers would say, you've got to go out and you've got to practice. You've got to run your drills and scrims and stuff like that. So, oh, Jesus, Mike, are you serious? Wow. With the heat index. Okay. Oh, man, that's so brutal. That's so brutal. But it's funny because now I feel like a pampered little whiny baby, because I'm like, it's 95 today. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I experienced the Texas heat and humidity, firsthand. And that's, I don't know how you guys do it. I've said it before. I don't know how Texas ballers do it. I don't know how Florida ballers do it. I've experienced that Florida heat and humidity as well. I've experienced it firsthand. I flew into Lauderdale back in it's probably 2002. I flew into Lauderdale. I landed at 2 in the morning, and I stepped off the plane and the breath got sucked out of me. It was so hot and it was so humid. So yeah, I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how you guys do it. And I have a whole new appreciation for the weather here in California. I, that's about all I'll say for that. No, God dang, Mike. 80 degrees at 6 o'clock when you're driving the field. Jesus, that's unbelievable. Oh, it's only in the 90s? Okay. Okay. What about the humidity though? Is it still brutally humid? Because that's what kills me. I like honestly, I could deal with heat, but the humidity is what's really bad for me. Oh my God. I don't know how you guys pull that off. I don't know how you pull that off. As I drink my water, as I chug my water. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have to agree that the chances of it really bringing a lot of new people to the sport, probably not. However, it would be cool to see. Being soaking wet all day is just exciting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's. I mean, I kind of figured. And when you live there, I guess it's not as bad. I mean, you do become accustomed to it. You become acclimated to that type of weather. But again, for us whiny babies who are not living in that type of environment, uh, I complained a lot. And again, I was peeling dead skin off of my head this morning when I was, taking a shower. But that's that's my problem. But yeah, the other thing, like I say, is just kind of going back to the topic previously of where you fall in terms of divisional ranking. Um, you know, again, the more and more I think about it, and the more I fall back on the experiences that I had when I was still playing, when we were still playing. I mean, we played against a lot of teams who I felt like really didn't belong in our division. It felt like that they were, they had just that little extra something that put them, put them above. Now, whether it was just the fact that they practiced as a team more regularly, or if it was that they just had so much experience that they were, easily steamrolling other teams. It's hard to say, but I mean, it can be a very touchy subject in terms of allowing a player or a team to stay in a division that they may not be suited for because of the fact that they've been playing in that division for so long. I don't know. If it's an intentional sandbag, get the hell out, man. I mean, you go back and play, at least go up one division, if not back into the division you were. And I saw some comments on that YouTube video. Somebody was saying, because the person being interviewed was a friend of Scott's. They were saying, oh, well, your friend is sandbagging, man up and at least play Div 4 instead of dropping all the way down to Div 5. And Scott replied with a comment along the lines of, individual skill, it might be sandbagging. But if his ranking allows for him to drop down from Div 3 to Div 5 with no controversy or anything like that, would that truly be sandbagging? If he's a player, I mean, if he was like a Ryan Greenspan caliber player, if he was a Thomas Taylor caliber player who was able to turn the tides of a point individually, sure, that's kind of an unfair advantage to whatever team he ends up playing with. But I mean, there aren't many of those guys, even in Div 3, Div 2. There are not many of those guys. Those guys quickly get snapped up by higher division teams or semi-pro or pro teams. I mean, talent like that is obvious, and it gets fostered and it gets I mean, again, they get brought into the fold of the teams that are going to be higher up. So you don't see a lot of those. Excuse me, you don't see a lot of those guys in the lower divisions. No matter how hard you grind, no matter how many days you spend at the field, um, if you are not if you're not that guy, you're not that guy. You know. So I don't know. I mean, I have kind of mixed feelings about it. Like I say, on one hand, I don't mind it so much because if it's just not working for you in the higher division, then you drop down. But if by dropping down, you're now giving an unfair advantage to the team you're playing with, I don't know. Do you say something? Do you, you know, force them to find a middle ground, again, going from Div 3 to Div 4 instead of dropping down to D5? I don't know. And again, you're probably going to get 10,000 varying opinions on that. I'd be really curious to hear what an organized somebody from one of the organizations, how they would feel about it. I mean, would it simply go as far as, well, his ranking points allow it, so that's the end of the story? I don't know. You tell me. I mean, you guys have, I'm sure, come up against situations like that. What are your thoughts? You know, I mean, feel free to reach out to us on the Instagram. You can send us a DM. You can tell us we're full of crap. You can tell us that, hey, I don't see a problem with it because of this, or I think it's totally unfair and it shouldn't be allowed. If you are ranked D3, you should be able to, you should have to either stay there or drop down just one. I don't know. Like I say, you're probably going to run into so many people with so many different opinions on the matter. But you just don't see a lot of those kind of generational talents in the lower divisional teams. They get fostered, they get seen, and they get trained and snapped up by all the better teams. That's just kind of how it goes. That's how it goes in so many sports. When somebody out there sees that there's raw talent that is easily molded, they're going to jump on it. Hopefully it doesn't lead to a big ego, because unfortunately paintball is still dealing with that as well. And that leads to a whole new set of issues. Do you get a guy who's starting out in, say he starts out in D5 and he's kind of just naturally gifted. He just seems to have all of the right tools to be able to succeed. He plays out his time in D5, and in that time he gets seen by, say, a D3, D2 team, and he gets brought into their camp. He starts working with them, and it's obvious that this guy is going places. Do you allow that ego to grow with him? Or do you pound some humility into this kid, and you make sure that he understands that it's fleeting? At any moment, he could easily get slapped in the back of the head and told, well, you're not playing this point. And as a matter of fact, you're not playing this event at all because I don't like your attitude. It's happened before. I've had to do it. Eugene and I have had to do it with kids who played with us back in the day. I've seen it happen with the Cyclones. I saw it happen firsthand. There have been players who got benched for various reasons, but one of them was, bad attitude. Niles does not tolerate that type of thing, and I would imagine a lot of team owners, especially the higher up you go, Division 2, Div 1, semi-pro, and pro especially. You want guys to be able to be confident in what they're doing when they walk out on the field, but they also, you got to be able to fit your head through the hole in the net. But we still have a lot of those types of guys out there, that we still have these guys who are walking around with a swagger talking about how they're so good and I could 1v1 anybody, and I guarantee that I'll smoke you. Okay, well, let's see, still mostly merit based. If The new guy can't cut it. Yeah, I mean, and see, ultimately, again, I think a lot of that is really going to I think it's really going to hinge on that very thing. If he is not a good teammate, if he can't be part of that group and he starts infighting or he just his ego gets in the way of the team being able to succeed as a team, yeah, you got to cut that out. I mean, it's cancer. It's absolute cancer. And if he's not going to understand after, one or two benchings or something like that, yeah, I mean, dump him. But you're absolutely right, Mike. A lot of teams still go based off of what you bring to the table in terms of your mentality. Um, some people don't learn the lesson early enough. Yeah, but no, that's absolutely true. It's absolutely a victim mentality. You're always going to find guys who are going to say, well, you're holding me back. It's not my fault that this happened. It's not my fault that this guy got mad at me. He should have walked off the field when I shot him the first 3 times. Stuff like that. They're not going to go anywhere. You're absolutely right. They'll just be stuck right where they are. They might have flashes where they got a cup of coffee with a higher ranked team or something like that. But then as soon as their true colors show, you're done for. And I think honestly, that's actually one of the hidden strengths to a sport like paintball is you're never going to truly be successful if you can't support one another as a team. If you can't be a solid teammate and you can't walk on that field knowing that you've got 5 guys who it means just as much to them as it does to you. And you can lean on them in times when you need it. Oh, see? Right there. Lupe had to cut somebody 2 weeks prior to Cup. See, and again, you cut that off at the pass, you nip it in the bud, you get those egos taken care of early on. I think you're ultimately going to strengthen the pool of talent for paintball because as they go up through the ranks, they're going to understand that, at any moment, the rug could get pulled out from underneath them. So, yeah, I mean, you're always going to have those guys who are they're going to be like, well, you guys as a team, you guys suck. You're holding me back. Or, it's not my fault. The ref did this or didn't do this. Or that guy was talking all kinds of crap. You know what, man? Just own it. Just own it. And one of my most cherished memories that I saw back was Rusty Glaze when he was playing for Infamous, walking off the field, and he got bonus ball bad. He got bonused really bad. And he walked off the field and all he did is he turned around, he looked back, and he just gave him the finger that counts, gave him that one finger that counts. But it's things like that. He was like, you know what? Yeah, I see you. But his ego wasn't so big that he was going to fly off the handle, that he was going to start raging and I'll see you outside. I'll see you in the pits. That to me was beautiful. Let's see with Mago. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. See, again, Mike coming in with dropping some knowledge on us. Yeah, it's absolutely a difficult sport to win. Absolutely. If they're lucky, a very good team wins one event a year. Now, unless you're Dynasty, unless you're Dynasty or Heat or something like that. Yeah. It helps. Yes, it does. It helps to accept that sometimes you suck, even if it's just that one time. Right now Hormesis is doing their 1v1 tour and they're going through, and I mean, we're starting to see, the guy, we're not seeing a lot of lower divisional players making it to the finals and whatnot like that right now, just yet anyway. But you're seeing guys in there, D4, D5 5-man. There's so many different levels of players that are all saying, you know what, I'm willing to give it a try. That's humility. That's accepting that there's a very good chance you're never going to make it past the first round, and there's a very good chance that you are going to learn you're not as good as you think you are. So yeah. Speaking of that Hormesis tour, by the way, there's some controversy around that as well. The event in Arizona, um, they oversold. Apparently, they oversold entry to it under the impression that it was a first come first serve, when in fact it was an invitational. I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. Should it be invitational, or should it become first come first serve? If I were to want to play in a 1v1 tournament like that, I feel like it should be first come first serve. That evens the playing field. That makes it so that if somebody can, plop their money down on the registration fast enough, it doesn't matter what level they play at. And we've seen divisional players take out semi-pro and pro players in 1v1s. We've seen it. That's part of the reason why, like the Hormesis coin duel thing, and that wasn't even a fully organized thing. That was just them throwing something out there to entice people to try something new, to get out there and, have fun. And these coin duels, like if you win, awesome. Not only do you get the bragging rights of saying I beat that guy, but then you get their little Hormesis coin, and they've got different rankings for different people. The pro guys have a certain color, legends, legends of the sport have a certain color. But it was intended to be fun, and anybody could do it, because you get these Hormesis coins from Hormesis. I think you can buy them actually. But I feel like something like that should be first come first serve. If you make it strictly invitational, you're making it less enticing for everybody, obviously, but you're also not getting a chance to really allow these unknown guys, these young guys, to really shine through. 1v1s, those are some of the most exciting parts of paintball. They're some of the most exciting things, because it comes down to literally, how good of a gunfighter are you? How well can you play your bunker? How well can you read your opponent? Because sometimes it all comes down to being able to anticipate them just right. If you see them peeking out one side and they seem to go, they'll peek twice out the right side, and then they peek once left. So you see 1, 2, all right, he's going left. So then you watch there, and you maybe put a couple of shots down range on the off chance that as he peaks, you've already gogged him. But yeah, I feel like making it strictly invitational, that soured a lot of people. It really did, especially the people who put their money in. Were told that they were going to be playing, and then after the fact said, oh wait, never mind. And now it's a matter of, well, the guys who did get invited to play, if they don't show, then they'll start taking people from off the list. So they didn't even get reimbursed yet. People still haven't even gotten reimbursed yet, from what I understand. Now, again, I could be wrong. This could have gotten straightened out, but as of the last time I heard about it, there were people who were just spitting fire because they felt like they were cheated out of an opportunity to be able to go out and do something fun. Yeah, $10,000. Whoever wins the tournament, they get $10,000. That's not chump change for a 1v1 tournament. That's big. That's really big. But at the same time, it's still, why are you depriving somebody of being able to go out and have fun in the name of paintball? That's not growing the sport. That's not making things more accessible. Yep, there you go, right there. Perfect. A D4 player made it to the finals at the last event. Yeah. See, it's unbelievable. Situations like that are what make paintball awesome as well. It's seeing events like that, the one-on-one events that allow people to go out and just be able to laugh, have a good time. And yeah, if they win, great. If they don't, that's okay. So I don't know. Again, I feel like making it invitational only, closing it off, literally putting it behind a paywall is it's just bad form. That's really bad form. I personally don't like it. I don't like it. But then again, I'm not out there playing. I'm not even gonna for a minute think that I've got the ability to gunfight quite that well. I'm okay. I'm not gonna lie. Last time I went out, I actually played pretty well, but I also was not playing against you know D3 semi-pros, pros, whatever. I was out there playing against essentially people my skill level. Which I don't know what my skill level would be. I guess that's the next thing to find out. Just how well can I hang? Maybe I should sign up for a 1v1 and see just how badly I get smoked. I don't know. But that being said, it kind of ties in with the whole thing of players who are ranked in a certain divisional level, moving up, moving down, and whether or not they are, they're at an advantage if they do drop down. 1v1 tournaments, obviously, like I said, we've seen plenty of people. Lupe just, mentioned an incident where, a lower divisional player advanced through the rankings, made it to the finals of a 1v1 event, a major 1v1 event. So it's not out of the question that on any given day, anybody can beat anybody. But that being said, would any of you out there, would you feel like you got, put up against somebody who had an unfair advantage against you because of the fact that they were, ranked higher than you? So Hermes' challenge at MVPS. Yeah, great players get hit with the first. Yeah, exactly. Out without even being able to fire a single shot. Exactly. And a lot of it sometimes is luck, because if you've got somebody, snapping right off the start before you can get into your, before you can hit your first bunker, I mean, you're done. You're done. It's once you get in and then you guys start trading back and forth, and you see some of the moves trying to bump up to, get a better angle and stuff like that. I mean, it's super exciting. Look at the look at the last event, Damage coming through with an amazing one-on-one. It was unbelievable. I still love watching that, and it was awesome, but it's super exciting. Stuff like that is really, really exciting. Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me either. Again, Florida is no slouch in terms of paintball talent right now, just because Texas is kind of taking the lead. There's still a ton of killers in Florida. Absolutely. Excuse me. Absolutely. Sorry, I keep burping on you guys. I'm so sorry. So sorry. But yeah, and the same goes out here as well. We've got a lot of really good young guys who are, they're working their way up through the divisions. They're working their way through every single practice. Every weekend, they're out there running drills. They're out there running points. They're getting spins. And in fact, I want to say it's two of the players that are on the Hermans, based out of Northern California here, got picked to play on the under-16 Team USA. That's huge. In fact, one of them is a returning player from the under-16 Team USA. And that's amazing. Stuff like that is just, it's awesome to see these young guys who are really, really working hard. So it doesn't surprise me at all to see, young guys going out there and being able to hang with the big boys. But at the same time, again, some people might say, well, that puts people at a disadvantage because they're going up against somebody who has the talent, who has the experience. Maybe, maybe not. We'll have to see. But with that, I've rambled on for an hour. I managed to make it an hour. So I am going to go ahead and close it off. I unfortunately don't have a whole lot else to talk about right now. Again, gearing up for Chicago, really would. I'm really happy to see that, you know, everybody's working really hard to get out there, and you know, I can't wait to see the games. Yeah, I know that I'm not going to be there. Eugene and I won't be there. It'd be lovely, but I have it's on my list. I will definitely try and make it out to Cup. I've got a plan. I just need to bring it to fruition. So with that being said, I am going to go ahead and end the show for tonight. But I did want to thank all of you guys for tuning in, for hanging out with us. Lupe, Mike, as always, I cannot thank you guys enough. I mean, both of you are awesome. Really, really appreciate you hanging out with me, giving me the opportunity to you know, BS with you guys. As always, it's a lot of fun. So as Eugene always says, you know, guys, get out there, drop your money on those counters at the shops, drop your money on the counters of those fields, support your local paintball industry. Buccarooni's hit the lottery. Yes, I agree. But then again, you can't win the lottery if you don't play. And I need to start playing because, man, like that last Powerball, the winner was a guy here in LA that lived on Skid Row, like literally Skid Row. So it could happen to any of us. But again, you know, get out there, spend your money at the field, spend your money at those shops, take care of your local paintball industry, and it will take care of you. Yeah, exactly, Mike. It's just like paintball. If you can't win if you don't play. That's right. That is absolutely right. And with that, always remember that if you can move, you can shoot, then you can play.